And good morning, everybody. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Bruce, how are you? How was the weekend?
Weekend was good. I came away with the number 59 in my brain. 59.
Right.
As in 9 and 50 for the Rockies. We all know that one because we follow them with bated breath each and every day.
Right.
But the 59 and 0 of LSU Shreveport winning the NAIA World Series out of Lewiston, Lewiston, Idaho. Unbelievable that a baseball team at any level could win 59 straight games. So our congratulations while we try to figure out the two different ends of the spectrum for the numbers 59. The excellence of Shreveport, the Shreveport Pilots, and of course, whatever the Rockies are.
Yeah, because they've got the number 59 as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, would you have said the same thing if the number was 69?
No, I wouldn't have, but you would have.
I didn't say anything. I was just asking if you would have.
Apparently the answer would be no.
You are far more mature, specifically when it comes to your age, than I am. With that, I want to tell you about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. What a fantastic place to go, either in the DTC or in Highlands Ranch. Basketball season is still going. NHL season is still going with the final. And why not stop by one of those locations, get some great food, start off with the cheese curds, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. If you like Brussels sprouts, that's great too. All kinds of great burgers, fantastic wings as well with all kinds of sauces. And even when the NHL and NBA season is over, no worries. They have other sports as well that they love to show, including soccer, rugby, of course, UFC. Go check them out. It is a sports bar that was designed and is currently run by sports fans. So if you were ever going to design a sports bar, I have a feeling this is the sports bar that you would come up with. You can find them in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and coming soon to Parker. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Allow me to get through this because there was a lot of information here. Okay, we know the Rockies are really bad, but they have become quickly historically bad. They're 9 and 50, which is the most games played by any team in baseball history before earning their 10th win. Last team to reach 50 losses before 10 wins, the 1884, yes, the 1884 Kansas City Cowboys, who started the season 7-50-2. I didn't realize there were ties back then. Worst team in baseball history percentage-wise, we've talked about it before, the 1899 Cleveland Spiders. That season, which was historically bad, as we talked about, 11-48, 59 games into their dubious season. Rockies, they've lost 22 straight series dating back to last September, the longest series losing streak in Major League Baseball history. In the meantime, the team is 2-16 since firing Bud Black. Many have said Dick Monfort, Bruce, only cares about money, doesn't care about winning. So if he doesn't clean house, and I mean broom, the whole damn thing after the season, should everybody say about him he only cares about money?
Well, I mean, the proof would be in the pudding, right? I mean, at some point, you have to recognize the error of your ways and the consistency of it. This isn't just this may be a one-off in terms of history, but this is who the Rockies have been generally for the last 6 or 7 seasons, right? I mean, this isn't a stunning surprise. Now, maybe because of the magnitude in terms of history, we look at it a little bit differently, but this is just basically confirming what we've known about the Rockies for a long period of time now. So I can't see how anybody retains their job in the front office, at least the key baseball people in the front office. Obviously staff, that's different. But decision makers, I can't imagine going to next season with them still in tow. it would be it would be disingenuous at best, and that's giving Dick probably more credit than he deserves. But I don't understand about where they are right now from a competitive standpoint. The party line it rings hollow. It has for me, and I think for you, for many, many years. Yes, you can cherry pick and look at a couple of guys here and there, but this franchise is not in any kind of rhythm for improvement or heading towards relevance. In fact, it remains as far away from relevance as maybe as it's ever been.
Okay, I want to put the 18. I'm screwing this up because I'm so used to the 19.
Yeah.
19 is not the 18s. The 1899 Spiders, they were 20-134. Okay, they didn't lose that badly that season because they were bad, believe it or not. They were not a down on their luck team like the Rockies, who have had a pair of, and it's going to be 3, 100-plus loss seasons. I don't know if you knew this. Their owner, the Robinson family, are you familiar with this at all?
I'm familiar with some of it, but not where you're going right now.
The Robinson family, the owners of the Spiders, by the way, the Spiders folded the next season. They traded their best players to the St. Louis Browns, the other team that they owned at the time, because it would boost attendance to make the most money for the team in St. Louis. Soon thereafter, Major League Baseball prohibited owners from owning multiple franchises. So in a nutshell, because they own 2 teams, they used their best players from the Spiders to go to St. Louis to help with their attendance. Would you like to take a guess who one of those players was on the team that played for the Spiders the year before in 1898?
I couldn't even hazard a guess.
Cy Young.
Oh, yeah, he was okay.
Cy Young pitched for the Cleveland Spiders the year before. He would have won 20 games all by himself.
Yeah.
But because you had an owner that owned 2 teams, he pushed his best players someplace else. Sadly, this is not the case for Dick Monfort, where he had a really good team and then unloaded. The Cleveland Spiders and other teams at the time were drawing maybe 100 to 1,000 people per game. So they traded their best players.
Yeah.
The Rockies don't have that excuse.
No.
It's the complete opposite. They are drawing people. And we have talked about this before, and I'm not trying to excuse the word because it has a very bad connotation. I'm not suggesting that Rockies fans have an insurrection at Coors Field. Okay? However, I am wondering, should Rockies fans literally picket outside of Coors Field? Okay? And anybody wearing gear from another team, you don't say a word. You just let them walk right in because they're going to go anyway. You're a Boston Red Sox fan. If the Red Sox come to town, you're going to want to go to the game. Have at it. That's your team. But I'm not saying physically harass.
No.
I'm not saying over the top. I'm not saying over the top verbally harass anybody wearing Rockies gear, but shame on you for going. Say that to them. You're wearing a Rockies hat. Shame on you for going. That's one reason why Rockies attendance is as high as it is. It's because of the other teams. Shame on you for going. Don't make it physical. Don't MF somebody. Don't use cuss words in front of kids. But just say, do you really want a team that is at the very least somewhat competitive? I wouldn't have a problem with the picket line as long as it's not over the top.
At the very least, don't we? And I think that for people that have been around it long enough, we understand the motivation of owning the Colorado Rockies for Dick Monfort. You've said this many times. He wants to win. I mean, who doesn't want to win? Everybody wants to win. But can you do the things necessary to give yourself a chance to win? And the answer with the Rockies at this point is absolutely not. They cannot do those things. They have not shown any evidence that they can recognize the things that have to happen. They might be able to recognize, but they can't connect the dots. So at this particular point, I think that you're left with if there's any good grace left by Rockies fans, first of all, I don't know why it would be that way. Yeah, it's a nice night at the ballpark, and it's a beautiful place to be on a summer's evening. We all understand that. But if you are a fan and want relevance and competitiveness, then you've got to make your voice heard somehow. And that's probably the best way, by staying away and by not supporting what is continuing to go on.
I had a former player once tell me, the fans here are just not educated. This is a former player who said this to me.
Yeah.
Meaning, and he brought up points to me, that during the game, you have a cheer, da, 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 clap, 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 right?
Yeah, right.
Right. He said to me, he goes, it is unbelievable to me that they have to tell the fans actually when to clap. He said it's kind of pathetic. And he played with other teams that were baseball markets. This could be a great baseball town. It could be a great baseball town. But in a great baseball town, truly, fans would not be showing up for these games. The Yankees fans would not be showing up.
No.
Red Sox fans would not be showing up. Now, in all fairness, if I'm going to contradict myself, Cubs fans would show up because, A, they're so used to losing. Not clearly this year. They did win a World Series, in the last 10 years. But my point is, it is all about Wrigleyville.
Yes.
Well, the Cubs have never been historically bad. And honestly, if this was going on in Chicago today, I think fans would boycott. I do. I'm from Chicago.
Yeah.
We could only tolerate so much. The Cubs were bad, but they were never 9 wins out of 59 games bad. They just weren't. So I don't want to hear about, it's a great fan base. No, it's not. It's a dumb fan base for showing up for watching garbage. I'm sorry. That's what it is.
I don't begrudge
and supporting it,
but
supporting it.
Now,
I don't want to hear, Bruce, about a nice night at the ballpark. Go to Estes Park. Okay. There are plenty of great hikes in Boulder.
There's a part of me that will always support a person's right to spend their entertainment dollars as they so choose. That's fine. But if you stop to consider the message that you're sending with your patronage, if indeed having relevance and competitiveness in your baseball team, then you probably need to change up the way that you're expressing yourself. Yes, I would agree. But the Rockies are so far in arrears right now that it is difficult to see a scenario under which within the next 3 years, and this is the bill of goods that we've been sent, right? Well, you just give us a couple of years, youth movement, just wait until these guys come to maturity. Well, you know what? Here we are now, 7 years into that run, since 18 was the last year that they reached the playoffs. And we're no closer to it than, in fact, you can argue they're further away from it, maybe than they've ever been. So it's a vicious cycle, and people, fans are going to have to take a good long look at it. What is your goal? Is your goal to have a nice night at the ballpark, much to your disgust? Or is your goal to support a baseball team that gives back to you for your patronage by putting a competitive, relevant team on the field?
I hear all the time from fans, it's a beautiful ballpark. It's not the Sistine Chapel. It's not. It's a nice ballpark.
It is.
If you're sitting on the first base line, you're blinded for a while when the sun is going down.
Sure.
It's a nice view of the Rocky Mountains, depending on where you're sitting. It's not this end-all, be-all ballpark.
No.
But I want to move to this. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you were the owner of a Major League Baseball team, and the Rockies decide to clean house. I don't know if I would even interview anyone in the Rockies organization who could get fired if they were with the team for 5 years or more. I don't want that stench in my organization. I just don't. Listen, Dan O'Dowd, he could still get a job in baseball.
Yep.
Really good baseball mind. And what I mean by that is excellent scout. He had his challenges as the GM. He could be very abrasive. And full disclosure, Dan O'Dowd is a friend of mine, but he's a bright baseball guy. Bill Guyvette, his second in command, never got a job in baseball again. Jeff Bridich has never gotten a job in baseball again. And Bill Schmidt is done. No one will touch him. He is toxic.
Well, unless it's Dick Monfort.
Well, he can't buy another team according to MLB rules.
Yeah, there you go, right?
That all happened with the Cleveland Spiders. My point is, if you were an owner and you had a resume sitting on your desk and it said, with the Colorado Rockies, in whatever position it is, for 7 years, would you just keep going?
Yes, of course I would. Absolutely. And I wouldn't mean any disrespect to the person. I would probably wish him all the best, but I, like you, would choose not to have that, a part of that in my franchise. I mean, what do you really bring to the table? If you haven't helped to identify talent, draft talent, develop talent, and had a clear and meaningful path to relevance through improvement, then why in the world would you want that person to be a part of your team? That would make no sense to me.
All right, coming up after the break, your guy, you love him, and he's a guy who can certainly play baseball, Ezequiel Tovar.
Mm-hmm.
He just signed a 7-year contract extension. If things do not improve, are we looking at another Nolan Arenado situation sooner than later? That's next.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a pair of Spider Cruisers or over $15,000 in cash the weekend of July 18th, just in time for the Sturgis Bike Rally in South Dakota. That's right, your choice, cruisers or $15,000 in cash. Get finalist entries every 45 minutes from 10 a.m. to midnight during their daily cash drawing with a locked-up jackpot of $100 or more. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver. And welcome back. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. I teased it when we went to break. Now let's talk about it now. Ezequiel Tovar signed a 7-year, $63.5 million contract extension.
Yep.
We believe he's a talented kid, still has a lot of upside. That's still $9 million a year. Yep. What a bargain. I don't think Dick Monfort would want to trade him at all because he is such a bargain. Now, Nolan Arenado did demand a trade. I am guessing, and I could be wrong, okay? I am, for lack of a better phrase, jumping to assumptions here that Nolan Arenado had a better financial upbringing in California than Ezequiel Tovar did in Venezuela. When Tovar signed that contract, he knew this team was coming off back-to-back 100-loss seasons. He knew that. And now he's on a historically bad team. Do you think there could ever come a point with Tovar saying, you know what? And he signed for the security.
Sure he did.
And the Rockies got a deal.
Yep.
Could you ever see this guy potentially saying, I can't take it here anymore?
Ever is a long time. So the answer is pretty clearly yes. I could see that become a reality. Even this season, I think he's hitting 258 or something around, something in that general vicinity. There's no protection. He's basically, as everybody on this team is, hitting on an island because they're so bad offensively. There is no concept of protecting hitters and getting guys on base and moving them over, et cetera. These are all things that continue to evade the Rockies offensively. 23 years of age, a borderline all-star talent as a shortstop. So he's a valuable piece. He will have leverage at some point in his career as he moves along a little bit. My guess is, and I don't really know much about the personal side of Ezequiel Tovar. I know he's very well respected in the clubhouse. He is a guy that is a team guy, not a me guy. Those are things that I do know about him. So I would suspect that he will be part of the answer, if there is one, for the Rockies moving forward over the next couple of years. But Eric, you know this. If you get to a certain point where you are just spinning your wheels and you see absolutely no way that you're going to gain traction and you're giving your best years to a place that doesn't want to compete at the level that you do. Look, these guys all make a lot of money, but maybe I've known a couple, but generally speaking, I don't think that I've known many that are all about anything other than winning. Yeah, they all get paid, but these guys all want to win, and they want to win at high levels. That's just the nature of who these guys are as competitors. The last thing in the world you want to do is sit there and be a part of 5 straight teams with over 100 losses. And let me tell you something. The Rockies are trending that way.
I'll tell you how bad it is that yesterday afternoon on the front page, the top stories for ESPN and CBS Sports talked about the Rockies. The last time I remember a story like this wasn't 1 year. It was basically for 20 years for the Colorado Buffaloes football team. The only time that we really talked about them was, for the most part, outside of going to a Pac-12 championship game and a couple of decent seasons here and there. The only time we talked about the Colorado Buffaloes is when it was about when are they going to fire their coach? Yeah. When are they going to fire Dan Hawkins? When are they going to fire John Embry? When are they going to fire this guy? And that's where we sadly are at right now with this franchise.
Yes. plain and simply. The problem is, in its current state, if you burn it to the ground, figuratively,
It is burnt to the ground.
but what confidence that you have that you could even start to rebuild? I mean, it's the same thing with, young talent. We've got lots of young talent. Yeah, but is it good young talent? There's a difference between young players and good young players that can play in the major leagues. Michael Toglia was on a pace for 281 strikeouts before they sent him down. This is a guy that had like 27 dingers last year and was one of their answers at third base, the kid from UCLA, a young player. But now all of a sudden, he's totally messed up mentally and is back down in AAA. So just because you're young doesn't mean you're talented. Just because you're tearing the thing down to the ground, if you don't make fundamental changes philosophically in the way that you do things, if you are willing to continue to do things the way that you have done them, that to me is the absolute definition of something far north of stupidity.
Here's another thing that is far north of stupidity. Dick Monfort is clearly the problem with who he hires. But he has Bill Schmidt as his GM. Bill Schmidt is the one who is the arsonist in all of this. He burnt this to the ground. And I'm sure in some ways he is trying to convince Dick Monfort that he's the first on the scene to put out the fire. Look, I'm putting out the fire, but I will rebuild it for you. No, you don't rehire the guy. You don't keep around the guy who burnt the house down to the ground. And because he showed up with a fire hose, let's give this guy a chance to rebuild.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're handing him the matchsticks, right? I mean, for the next one. You have to now, and I don't know. Well, I think I'm starting to understand after 10 years how Dick functions, and we've talked about it ad nauseum. He has, and it's a great quality. Loyalty in and of itself is a great quality.
When Bill Schmidt was asked what makes Dick Monfort a great owner, the first words out of his mouth to Mike Kliss was this: he's loyal. First words out of his mouth.
Yeah.
He's loyal. Well, he's loyal. You're still working.
Yeah. And here we are. And this is a fine mess that loyalty, fill in the rest of the blanks. This is where it's gotten us. And I cannot, it's interesting. I don't think we've heard from Dick. I don't think we've heard from him since like the COVID year, maybe 2022.
Right.
In terms of in a press conference setting, I mean, he does his baseball breakfast up in Greeley every year. I'm talking about in front of media.
An on the record interview with somebody.
He has yeah, it's been 2+ years that we've heard anything from Dick Monfort right now. I would love to know what is pushing him at this particular point. The profits are there, but at what cost? That's what I would ask.
Right. Well, I can't speak for you. I'll only speak for me. It's not that I am thin-skinned, but I'm probably more sensitive about what I'm about to say than you are. You've spent decades in television. I spent decades in television. For a good part of my career, I was a Monday through Friday guy. I was a main guy. The show that I was always worried the most about was the Friday show. Because if I didn't have a good Friday show, I would live through it the entire weekend. I'd have a difficult time getting it off my brain. Saturday would not be a fun day, or Sunday would not really be a fun day either. But then by the time I hit Monday, I thought, okay, there's a chance to redeem myself after what happened on Friday's show, if indeed it was a bad show. I don't know how Dick Monfort could actually walk out in public. Seriously. If I felt that way about a bad show on a Friday night at 10, If I'm Dick Monfort, I am in hiding. I don't go to the grocery store to pick up a pint of ice cream. I have somebody do it for me. I can't even imagine the reaction he gets when he walks out in public.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how vocal people are with him. I mean, somebody is, I'm sure. I mean,
Well, remember something. Everybody who has a lot of venom and a lot of hate is a great keyboard warrior.
yes.
You know,
Right.
you got your Twitter muscles going,
Yeah.
but who's brave enough to say it to somebody's face?
It would be questions for me because I would want, and you obviously, we're journalists, you want answers to questions that not only we're thinking about, but what fans, I'm sure, are thinking about as well. And, you know, you're thankful to have Major League Baseball in this city. You're thankful for the 2 or 3 times in the course of their history that they've given us something that has really rallied us as a community. There is wonderful value in that. We have made friendships through that franchise and in that clubhouse, and people that we still call friends to this day. Those are all wonderful things. But at the end of the day, and you know this, the end of the day, are you competing for something? And more importantly, are you doing your absolute best to compete for something? You can't just say, well, we want to win.
Right.
What are you doing to show that? What are you doing to move the proposition forward? And the answer in the Rockies case is absolutely nothing, really, for the last 7 years, where the same message is being thrown out there. We're coming, young, youth movement, blah, blah, blah. At some point, like right now at 9 and 50, that loses, it's long since lost any luster or believability. And when you become cynical about a team and cynical about the future of the team, that's when you lose. That's when you lose in the community. That's when you lose in the baseball community and in fandom. And one way or the other, I'm not sure in what form it's going to take, but we're already starting to see it, Eric. They're down around, I think they're 16, 17 now in attendance, and they still draw well at certain times, but this isn't what the Rockies even were 3 or 4 years ago. So people are catching on, and they're showing their dissatisfaction in whatever way they can.
Okay. I have a suggestion for Dick Monfort. Rick George has basically lost all autonomy with Colorado football program. Is that fair to say? This is Deion Sanders' program. He is the athletic director, but really it's the football program that runs everything. And I've said on this show that essentially Rick George to me is a eunuch. This is Deion Sanders' athletic department. Would you agree? He's not going to stand up to Deion Sanders at all. Deion Sanders has done great things, but this is his football program. And I think that Rick basically just says yes, sir, no, sir to Deion Sanders because he doesn't want to piss him off. Is that somewhat fair?
Somewhat. I think my knowledge of Rick is that he is willing to push when he needs to feel like he needs to push. And I will say this, Rick George hired Deion Sanders. He's the one that made the move.
He had to.
Yeah,
he had to because it was in such shambles. He had to make a big, bold move.
But he did, and he had the stones to do it. So I don't think it was a move that was that didn't have its perils, right? Even at 1-10 or 1-11, whatever it was, that he's coming in on. So I will always give him credit for that. But yes, your general statement about who's got the power at CU, it is certainly with Deion Sanders.
With that, as I just did a topspin forehand with a cast iron skillet to Rick George's face, before he hits the ground, I'm going to pick him up. Dick Monfort should drive to Boulder and hire Rick George to be the team president.
Yeah.
Rick George did a terrific job with the Texas Rangers. It's not that I want Dick Monfort to sell the team. I want Dick Monfort to keep his hands off of baseball and to hire somebody from the outside and say, this is yours. I'm going to go to the games and enjoy myself and be hands off. I don't know if Dick is capable of that. And I don't think he's capable of that. But if he is capable of that, okay, then look at a guy like Rick George and let Rick build the entire thing, or at least somebody from the outside. We keep saying somebody from the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rick George was right up the street.
Yep.
Is right up the street. You know who else was right up the street? Dan Evans.
Yeah.
He used to be the GM of the Dodgers, who, by the way, no longer lives in Boulder anymore.
Yeah.
At least go talk to Rick George. Go take him for lunch or take him to Greeley and take him for a nice steak. There are plenty of places you can get a nice steak up in Greeley. And as a matter of fact, if you want to go out to one of his ranches, go out there with a bow and arrow and kill your own and eat it. Because I'm sure he could supply that for Rick as well.
I think Rick would be a very astute move.
Rick George is a really bright guy.
Really bright.
When I call him a eunuch, okay, it's slamming him. He made the right move hiring Deion Sanders, but he gave away all power as the athletic director, specifically when it came to the football program. He sacrificed his own ego. Good on him for the betterment of the program. I give him tons of credit for doing that, but it is no longer his program. Dick, please take George for lunch.
There you go. That's what a great first step, right? I mean, acknowledgement is the first step towards repair. I mean, isn't that Alcoholics Anonymous or whatever it is? I mean, you have to recognize the problem before you can.
I've been there twice, and
right?
I've never heard that.
Oh, well, something.
And my sponsor has never said that to me.
Well, I think there's a concept of you have to be able to recognize the problem in order to try to fix the problem.
Well, that is the first step in therapy.
Right, there you go. Yeah. I mean, for lack of a better term, therapy may be prescribed here for Dick Monfort. I think that, and look, and I appreciate, Dick Monfort's the one spending money on this baseball team. It's his money. I have great respect for having that type of money to do this with. But you're at a point right now where decisions have to be made that changes the direction of this franchise on a pivot, not something that now changes on a slow arc. It needs to change now on a pivot. And the only way that it's going to change, in my opinion, mine alone, is with new ideas, bold new ideas, or just tried and true ideas. I mean, how about an analytics department?
By the way, they don't need a pivot. They need a 180. And sorry, right. They've had an analytics department. They hired people from the outside, and either they were fired or they quit. And getting back to what you were saying about Dick Monfort and therapy and Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever it is, you can never change if you don't have self-awareness. Mm-hmm. That is the first step. If you don't realize you have a problem, self-awareness, I do have a problem, that's half the battle. Now, there might be hope on the way. Maybe. And when I say that, I'm talking about his two sons. Eventually, one of his sons will take over the team. Let's just hope one of those sons is Rocky to Bill, as in the Wirtz family. Bill Wirtz was considered a cheap and a bad owner for the Chicago Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. He didn't put his home games on television because he felt, well, if I put him on television, then fans aren't going to come to the games. Rocky Wirtz, one of his first moves was to put the Blackhawks on television. He hired John McDonough, a friend of mine, to be the president. John McDonough, by the way, used to be the marketing director for the Cubs. I think I told you the story about John McDonough.
You did.
John McDonough, for those that don't know this story, I said to him when he started in the 70s, how did you get people in the stands? He goes, how did you market such a bad baseball team? He goes, we didn't put any marketing dollars into the team. We put it into Wrigleyville. We put it into the neighborhood. We built up the bars and restaurants so it would be a place where people want to come. Coors Field is Wrigleyville.
Yeah.
So my point is this. Rocky Wirtz hires John McDonough. Now, granted, they had a bunch of high draft picks that, turned into Jonathan Taves and Patrick Sharp and yada, yada, yada. But they won Stanley Cup titles with Rocky Wirtz as the owner. So maybe, just maybe, if Dick is Bill, maybe, just maybe years down the road, because Dick's not selling the team.
No.
Maybe, just maybe one of his kids is more like Rocky Wirtz and says, we need to do things differently.
Yeah, the only chance for selling the team comes with the new collective bargaining agreement in a couple of years. And if there is not some form of ceiling floor for the salary cap, then maybe, but I don't see that. I don't see that as a realistic proposition. The baseball union is the strongest in all of sports. So I can't see a salary cap sneaking into baseball.
Okay, one more quick thing, because we got to run. When you look at the Rockies situation currently, is it A, sad, B, disappointing, or C, gallows humor kind of funny?
Well, it's extremely frustrating, but it is gallows humor kind of funny at this point.
Are you really rooting for the Rockies to even win one more game? Honestly, and I feel bad.
I'm not rooting I'm not rooting them to lose. I'm not going to go that far. Do
you want them to win? You're not rooting for them to, and quite frankly, whoever you cheer for doesn't affect the outcome of the game. Breaking news. Want to let everybody know that. If I come out with a prediction saying the Broncos are going to lose a game this season, A, it doesn't mean I'm rooting against them, and B, it doesn't mean that's going to happen.
Yeah.
My point is, would you have a problem with the Rockies losing the rest of their games?
No, go ahead and be horrible spectacularly. Right? Just go ahead and be memorable, but learn something from it.
Right.
This is my deal. It's like, okay, we can have this calamity, but where are we in 2 years or in 3 years? Have we moved the needle forward in making this better? Have we learned anything from it? Because that would be the tragedy. And I'm talking about tragedy in a sports fashion. The tragedy would be not learning and not getting any better from it.
If you are someone who drinks too much, does too many drugs, smokes too much, does a lot of bad things, sometimes you need to be lying in a hospital bed near death before you make a change. And right now, the Rockies are flatlining. They need a pair of paddles on their chest in the worst way. Hopefully, this will run a shock into Dick Monfort's system to make a change. That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Make it the best possible day you can.